Okay, I think it's time for us to get going. It's bang on 12 o'clock. Thanks for everyone for joining. Just before we continue, there's a couple of housekeeping rules. If I can get my slides to work. There we go. Sorry. Okay, so a couple of things is that stay muted, keep your videos off. It does distract the presenter as we go along. We will have a question time after the presentation where our panel of presenters will hopefully try and answer your questions. Just to, by way of introduction, Jasmin is going to be doing a presentation for us. Jasmin loves to figure out what people want and how to get there. That journey can be sometimes difficult, sometimes be easy, and she loves to plan to help people to succeed. We also welcome Sarah Gibson, CEO of Redvespa. She describes herself as curious and inquisitive. And yes, she is. She has immensely cares for people, and she believes the culture drives strategy. Sian, Clements is from Younity, a talent recruitment company. She has a passion for technology and loves people and loves a good chat and getting to know people individually. We've certainly had a couple of good chats between the two of us. And then our guest today, who has snuck in at the last minute, Sarah invited Redvespa's engagement talent manager, Penny Mansfield. She has an enjoyment in coaching people and helping people change their lives with a Redvespa offer. Certainly, I can attest to all of that. So, before, well, that's all I have to say for now. I'm going to hand over to Jasmin. Jasmin, I'll change the slides and then you can take over from there.
Thank you very much, Paul, and thanks for the opportunity to have the conversation. About 5 years ago, I wrote a blog post for Equinox about getting into business analysis as a career, and we keep getting comments on it. So I'm really glad to have the opportunity to discuss this topic today, and also for our audience to have the opportunity to get the perspective of business analyst, business owner, and the recruiter in order to help them to understand what they need to do to enter into a business analysis career. I started working for Equinox over 7 years ago, so I'm now an associate with Equinox, and I regularly deliver practitioner-based business analysis training with them.
It seems like we've lost Jasmin there. Just sorry about that. See if we can get it back online. Just trying to get hold of her. Just hold on. Sorry about that. Jasmin, can you hear us? Let's see if I can get hold of her on the phone. Gotta love technology when you need it. You just give us a moment. Just going to try and get it back.
There we go.
Are you back?
Fabulous. Sorry about that.
No worries.
We've clearly had a little blip in the internet. So I think we were at the My Perspective when I dropped out. Is that where we were?
Yep.
So sorry about that, everyone. So next slide. So bit of background on me. I've been in the analysis space since the late 90s. For the last 15 years or so, I've been working in consultancy firms or as an independent. So I've had a lot of opportunity to work on a range of projects for large and small clients in quite a few different sectors. Personally, I tend to have a technical focus. My background originally was in contact centres and analytics. And one of the things that has taught me is it's often the business side of change that determines the success or failure. IT really is just an enabler. So business analysis adds enormous value. I've also been delivering training in practical business analysis skills and specific tool sets for the last 5 years with Equinox. So let's have a conversation about what we'll cover off today. So being a business analyst, we'll do a brief definition. What's business analysis and what is a business analyst? We'll have a talk about the approach to entering a business analysis career. And we'll talk about the key qualities of an analyst and then the 2 different paths that are common for entry, subject matter expertise and joining as a junior business analyst. And then we'll cover off a couple of extra tips to think about in order to successfully enter your career. Before we kick in how to enter into business analysis, let's be really clear about what we mean. To put it simply, a business analyst helps an organisation to clearly identify why change is needed and what successful change will look like. This could be something that's quite operational or tactical, something like say, hey, to meet the need to identify roster issues, the staff schedule report must include all the break, start and finish times. It might also be something quite strategic, a complex detailed paper on strategic opportunities when we implement a common platform to support all of our customer service delivery. And we could be working on changes within a project or as part of a continuous improvement program. All of this is still business analysis. We're helping to identify the change that's needed and what successful change will look like. And if you're doing that work, you are a business analyst. And so bear that in mind when you're thinking about opportunities. Next slide. Because if you're doing these activities, you are working as a business analyst. It's possible your job title might not be business analyst. And so when we're thinking about entering the career, think about roles that offer opportunities to perform business analysis activities and broaden your scope a little. Now, we know what business analysis is. We understand what we're talking about when we're saying entering into being a business analyst. Let's talk about the approach. You want to enter into an exciting career. How do you do it as a junior? There are 3 key things to bear in mind. The first is business analysis skills relate to business change. If you want to work in analysis, you need to be around business change. That means find an area of the business that has a lot of change to maximize your opportunities to develop your skills. Within that, there are 2 major flavors of change. So we've got business-centered / process-driven change, which may not involve any IT at all, or it may involve leveraging existing IT for better outcomes within the business. The other key flavour is IT-enabled change, and this often involves data and systems. A good understanding of IT capabilities and opportunities is required. And in order to enter into a career, think hard and consider which flavour are you best able to work with now. One other point is there's a project which has both flavours involved, it's usually something quite complex. You're going to have some senior business analysts involved, and they can be awesome opportunities to develop your skills with a senior that can help you to understand what you need to do and a big project to work on. Second thing, no one expects you to be an amazing enterprise analyst right off the bat. You need to take a realistic inventory of what you bring to the table now. To get that role, you are going to need to demonstrate that you have some of the key qualities of a business analyst and that you're bringing good subject matter expertise and or relevant skills, such as and a good understanding of the BA toolkit and an ability to learn. So if you know yourself well and you've clearly identified what you bring to the table, that's a really good point to start from. The third thing is know your limits. So if you're starting out, operational and or tactical analysis tend to be a good place to start. When you are working on strategic analysis, it tends to be something that requires quite a bit of experience as an analyst. And realistically, and we might get into this in the questions later, a lot of people find they don't really enjoy it. One of the pleasures of business analysis can be when you're doing operational and tactical analysis, it's very pragmatic and you get tangible results and outcomes within short time frames. So think about where business changes you can engage with, understand the skills you have, understand your limits, and then think about the key qualities that you can demonstrate. So I've mentioned the key qualities before when we're taking a view of what we have. Next slide. And some of the key qualities that an analyst has when we deliver training, every time we have a conversation about what makes a great business analyst. Clearly, understanding the extent of the business analysis toolkit, having a really good set of tools you can use and knowing when to use them. Those things are really important as an analyst. And those are the skills that you are hoping to develop in your role as a junior analyst. And if you've had some training, those are things hopefully you can bring to the table. The things that make good business analysts stand out tend to be their qualities. And if you can demonstrate those qualities, it can help you to move into an analysis role. Seeking to understand, and Sarah talked about the fact that she's really, the why question is really important to her. That demonstration of curiosity, a willingness to learn, and particularly the ability to identify assumptions that you make and that others make and investigate them. It's really important. Someone who's employing you as a junior BA wants to know that you can think things through, learn and test your assumptions. They also want to see effective communication skills. Building relationships, being a great listener, asking the right questions at the right time, being able to communicate clearly and simply, all of these are extremely important as an analyst. Skills in meeting facilitation and workshop facilitation build on good communication skills. Your new employer would love to see you demonstrating your effective communication skills, both oral and written. And you also want to be a bit of a Boy Scout. You want to be prepared. A good analyst does the pre-work and the planning. They explore resources, they plan their analysis activities and their approach. Flying by the seat of your pants doesn't tend to work very well in analysis. So demonstrate your ability to prepare and plan. And finally, being self-aware is really important as an analyst. Knowing your skill set, taking feedback, being able to reset when things aren't going as expected, and also being really aware of the fact that as an analyst, we don't know the answers. We have a skill set to help other people to identify the answers and the information they need. All of that is really important. If you are looking for a role as a junior, you really need to demonstrate your awareness of your current strengths and tools and your ability to respond well to feedback. The great thing about thinking about qualities is you can demonstrate all of these qualities when you're engaging with potential employers or business analysis leads and managers as you go through the process of engaging and seeking out opportunities with them. And bear in mind, this might be the edge that gets you into the junior role. If you have and can demonstrate some of the key qualities, people are much more prepared to invest the time and energy in helping you to develop your business analysis toolkit. Now, let's get into the paths for entry. So there's two main paths that we've identified. First is as a subject matter expert. And this is a classic path to entry. When you already have an operational role and you're interested in analysis, as a subject matter expert, you are the key resource for a team identifying what kind of change is needed and what successful change is going to look like. From there, you can start to identify opportunities for analysis. This is generally a route for people who are working in operational or service delivery business areas, and particularly business areas that, as we discussed previously, have high change rates. You really do need to have a really thorough understanding of your business area, and this makes you the go-to person for change projects. Once you've become the go-to person to consult with for business change, you can observe and learn from the business analysts on projects and identify opportunities to contribute to those business analysis activities. If you're in a high change area, for example, a classic is contact centres, and you consistently get involved in change, you can take on more and more analysis as your skills increase and you have a track record within the organisation. And ultimately, that path can give you enough experience to then make the move into a pure analysis role. Personally, that's the way that I moved into analysis in the 90s. I used to work in contact centres. I worked on IVRs, routing, workforce management programs. I was the expert at the back end of it. I worked on a lot of change projects, and then I discovered that actually I really liked the analysis and the change, and I wanted to follow that as a career rather than sticking with my subject matter area. The big thing with that is, when you make that shift from being a subject matter expert to a business analyst, you need to let go of knowing what the answers are and instead learn that your primary skill you bring is to help people to think things through and to identify what they need, and that you don't actually have the answers, you have the skills to help people provide the answers. Now, our other path is entering as a junior business analyst. And this is a path that's more suited to those with a relevant qualification seeking to get into their first analysis role. Now, you've probably noticed when you look at job sites, junior BA roles aren't all that common. In my experience, that's because they tend to go to internal applicants, often who understand the organisation and demonstrate their ability to work well. Some organisations do offer cadet roles, which are a great opportunity, and some large practices will hire in junior analysts from outside the organisation and develop them. And in this case, transferable operational experience in addition to the analysis toolset is really helpful. Now, to get one of these roles, it's really wise to sit down and work out, do some market research. Which organisations actually have BA practices that mentor and develop junior analysts? You need to figure out which organisations you're targeting, and then look for a role within those organisations which will give you good general exposure to the business. So you can build your business understanding, demonstrate your work ethic and some of your qualities, and get yourself into a good position to move into an analysis role. Here, contact centre roles and IT support classic roles that are great for giving you a good overall understanding of the business. And as you go, building up your understanding and watching for opportunities, engaging with the analysts, keeping an eye on your internal postings, but don't forget, maybe you can build up your business understanding and then potentially move to another organisation that has a practice. So keep an eye out for those roles wherever they might be coming up. And as with the subject matter expertise pathway, take opportunities to work on business change and develop and demonstrate your skill set wherever possible. Everything you can do that shows that you have the ability to become a good analyst and you're willing to do the work is going to contribute to getting the role that you want. So in summary, when we want to move into an analysis role, we want to first off identify employers who have the kinds of roles you'd like to move into. And ideally, next slide, it's an organisation that's got a formal business analysis practice and an analysis-focused manager so that you have the opportunity to build your skills and get the mentoring that you want. It's quite difficult to develop as a junior in a loose practice where you're expected to figure it out for yourself. Make sure you assess yourself, your skills, your abilities, your preferences. Think about what you bring to the table, what you need to learn and practice, and identify why would you be an asset to the organisation? What qualities do you have already that you can bring to the table? Find that transition role, the role within your target organisation that exposes you to business change. Now, bear in mind, if you're looking at the SME pathway, it takes quite a while. So it takes a few years on the job often to really build up your business understanding and become a key resource. It's going to be really valuable for you for the rest of your career, having that depth of understanding of the business. So take your time, don't be in a rush. Then look for opportunities. Consistently look for opportunities to get involved in change, be the volunteer, learn, observe, and you're going to make mistakes. These are golden opportunities. You know, learn from your mistakes. I've had a lot of BA conversations and we all agree that times when things have gone pretty pear-shaped have often given us some serious learning as analysts and improved us. So take advantage of those as they come up, because they will. They come up for all of us. Take advantage as much as possible of any mentoring or participation skills with senior BAs. Observe, take everything you can from them, and BAs are generally pretty helpful. They will actually generally support and help you with your development if you ask. Once you've made the jump and you've got into that role, you've made it, you're now in a role consisting mainly of business analysis activities, keep learning. Analysis is a lifelong learning role, and it requires, it's one of the reasons it is such a rewarding career. We don't ever stop. Now, there's a couple of extra hints and tips as well. I know you've already got the first one, because that's building relationships in the analysis community. So this is things like the IIBA meetups. There's also a lot of social get-togethers with business analysts. Take advantage of those opportunities. The analysts that are involved in the community tend to be, I've always found people to be very supportive, willing to share, willing to give support to others and discuss techniques and opportunities. Those people will help you, and you'll probably make lifelong friends. I know I have within the business analysis community. The other thing I'd say is keep a tight eye on job titles. Don't get fixed on having to look for a business analysis job title. Look at the activities that are being performed. And if you have a reasonable amount of business analysis activity in there, then look at those roles as transition roles or business analysis roles. For example, if you work in an organisation that does a lot of agile delivery and there's an opportunity to be a product owner, you're going to be performing business analysis activities as a product owner. It's an opportunity to move into a more analysis-focused role. Equally, if you're working on continuous improvement program within your business area, you're also going to be developing and performing business analysis activities. So make sure when you look at roles, you think through what the tasks are that are involved in that role and look for ones that give you an opportunity to perform business analysis tasks and develop your business analysis skill set. So next slide. Overall, we've covered off, so we know who a business analyst is. Anyone who's performing business analysis activities, i.e. they're helping the business understand what needs to change and what a successful solution is going to look like. We've had a chat about the approach, so we need to look at organisations that we want to work with that have the kind of business analysis practice that's going to give us what we need. We want to understand ourselves and what we bring to the table. We want to be really clear about the kinds of qualities that good analysts have that we can demonstrate. If we're going for subject matter expertise, we need to focus on an area that is subject to significant business change, become an expert in it, and use that and involvement in change programs to leverage ourselves through into our business analysis career. If we're looking at a junior business analyst path, we want to have a formal qualification which demonstrates our understanding of the business analysis toolkit and take opportunities to get into a role within an established business analysis practice, which is going to develop us. And along the way, we want to make sure that we engage with the business analysis community and build our friendships and our understanding, and that we make sure we extend our understanding of business analysis roles to those which have people performing business analysis tasks, whether or not it is part of their job title. And thanks for the opportunity to have a chat. I think it's time. Have we got some questions for Paul, for Sian, Sarah, Penny, and myself coming through?
Yeah, they're starting to come through. I think I'm just going to start off with Sian. First with a question that I always get asked, and I've seen it's coming up here as well. So I'm a brand new BA, or I'm a junior BA, or I'm wanting to enter the market, and I approach you, I'm looking for a job. In terms of a CV, in terms of that approach, in terms of LinkedIn and all that, what are you looking for from a prospective candidate before you recommend them to an employer, say like Redvespa?
Yeah, look, I think the most important thing, is have your CV up to date. So have details of what it is that you're good at, what it is that you're not so good at, and you need a little bit of support. Your LinkedIn should definitely have, it should be active. One of the first things I always say to people is, how do you not have a LinkedIn account? It's such a vital tool. You can network on there, you can join meetups, you can join groups. With the amount of hashtags as well, you can scroll through new job opportunities. So make sure your LinkedIn is definitely up to date and that you've got a good network. Don't just add everybody. Make sure that the people that you're adding are relevant as well. But yeah, sorry, back to the CV as well. So on your CV, especially when you're a junior, most people go, oh, well, I don't have much experience, so I don't really know what to put. Most people have worked in a job. So put, the roles that you've done, what you've done, and how you can help add value. Your cover sheet is really important when you're junior. So use that as you would anything else. If you want to be a BA, you look at that as a project. I'm going to write the details that we need, why I'm good at it, why I will be good at it. Attitude's a big part as well. So just include all of that.
And thank you. So Penny, I suppose this is where you come in. So my CV lands on your desk, and you're going to have that first interview with me as the talent engagement manager. What are you looking for in that first interaction with me as a professor? I can't pronounce today. As a potential candidate.
Yeah, it's probably for me at the first stage, it's all about your soft skills. I don't pretend to be a BA, so I want to know you as a person, so I want you to bring your authentic self, someone who can demonstrate that you're express especially their curiosity and their empathy and their the customer lens. And so yeah, I guess just you as a person. So bring a smile on your face and show your passion for the BA craft and why you want to join Redvespa.
Great. It's always interesting me when someone says to me, show your empathy and show your curiosity. What particularly are you looking for? What in that interaction is going to tell you that I've got great empathy and curiosity?
Yeah, so I guess someone who turns up and they have researched Redvespa and probably have some questions prepared. So not all the time when you're doing an interview, you're going to feel confident to do off-the-cuff questions. If you've prepared some questions in advance, that's totally fine if you've had to write them down. So showing you're interested in our business and our clients and the work we do is really important. So that's quite easy to prepare for. Just checking out our website is really easy to do. The empathy is quite difficult because it's sort of looked at quite differently from different interviewers. So I guess what it looks like to you, and we'll be able to tell if you're being authentic quite quickly. So I guess if you can put yourself in the shoes of someone else and show a bit of a growth mindset, not just it's my way or the highway attitude.
Okay, great. Sian, back to you, kind of a question for you. So I'm a candidate and I'm going to, for an interview, what are some of the tips you could give to me I'm not even going to try to use that word anymore, as a potential candidate for an interview? What are some of the tips that I should be aware of?
Look, I think a great thing is, like Penny said before, research the company, understand who you're seeing, check out the hiring managers on LinkedIn. Who are you going in to see? Who's also in the business? Just those small things at the start really do help. If you haven't interviewed before and you haven't heard of the STAR method, look that up. We can send through some details after this. But I think it is really important to make sure that you present really well as well. So great handshake, dress appropriately. If you're going into a startup, if you're going to wear, if you're going into a startup, don't wear a tie and blazer. So look smart, nice black pants, nice top. If you're going into a bank, check your audience, check who you're interviewing with, make sure that you're dressed appropriately.
Thanks. I have to mention it. So we had a conversation the other day, Sian, about should I accept that cup of coffee or not? Should I accept that cup of coffee?
Yeah, I mean, you made a great example of that. I always say to candidates, don't say no at the beginning. So if the receptionist asks, or somebody who's meeting you asks, would you like a cup of coffee or a glass of water or something? You don't want to say no. Get a glass of water rather than a coffee. Paul said, great example, coffee can make you a bit jittery. You're already nervous. You probably don't need any more caffeine, but definitely get a glass of water. If you're sitting in an interview and you're really nervous and you're not quite sure, how to answer a question, take a second, take a sip of that water, just relax your nerves and then answer. Yep. It takes a couple of seconds to do that.
I don't think anyone expects an interview to be not nervous. I mean, it is a very nerve-wracking. Even myself with 25 years experience BA, when I go for an interview, I'm still very nervous. Kind of a technique that I use when I need some space to think is I will reflect the question back. And it gives me some space to be able to think my thoughts through and to slow the interview down.
Excuse me, we're having an earthquake, so I'm going to go outside if that's all right. Stay connected.
That's fine. That's fine. I didn't even feel that.
We're settled.
Or we settled. Is everyone okay?
No, I'm in the central North Island, so we've just had a long shake. It's settled down now. It's okay. Thanks.
Yeah, I've just had it too, Jasmin. I'm in Te Horo, and it was a pretty good one.
Wow.
And I think that's good learning for us, Paul, actually. If you're in an interview and there's an earthquake or something, just be yourself and, just be comfortable to say, actually, I'm feeling really uncomfortable right now. What are we going to do because there's an earthquake? So as much as you can prepare for interviews and things, still just be yourself.
Yeah. I tend to over prepare for interviews, and whenever I get there, I don't even use a third of what I've prepared for. But yeah. But interesting, Sarah, because I kind of want to come to you now, because I remember the first time I met you when I came for an interview at Redvespa. I walked into the reception area and I sat down, and you walked over and sat down and have a conversation with me. And I remember when I started interviews in New Zealand, someone always said to me, the interview starts in the reception area, with a conversation with the reception people and all that. How much of the truth is in that sort of?
Wow, that's fascinating, Paul. I do remember that conversation, but it certainly for me wasn't part of the formal interview. I just saw someone popped in, so I thought I'd pop over and say hello. I didn't even know that you were there for an interview, interestingly. But you're right. When anybody comes in for an interview with us, we are really interested and will ask even our people who are the first ones to greet someone. So in our case, it may well be someone who works in our business support team. And I will say to them afterwards, oh, what were they like when they first came in the door? And they will always kind of say, oh, they were really friendly, or, they appeared a bit nervous. And so we tried to help them to relax a bit and things. So yeah, you're right. It does start there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. And one handy hint on that, Paul, that I have heard, one organisation I know checks to see whether you try to do anything with your cup at the end of the interview. So Sian, as you said, getting the glass of water, but one of the comments they had was, do people try and actually make sure that their detritus at the end of the interview is taken care of, or do they just walk away and leave it and forget about it? So it's always worth saying, shall I put my cup away?
Yeah. Jasmin, question here. So we talked quite a bit about the soft skills in the presentation. The question here from one of the attendees is, what are the sort of main technical qualities for BA? And I suppose as a junior BA, I mean, you made the comment that no one expects you to know everything. So what would you say is that base layer of technical skills for a BA entering the market?
I think you need to understand the business analysis toolkit. So no one expects you to necessarily be able to talk about the details and the ins and outs of BPMN 2.0 and whether we should be putting, where we should put the swim lanes. But if someone says, hey, what kinds of business process modeling, and they say BPMN and someone looks at them blankly, there's going to be a moment where we go, hang on a minute, you should know that this exists, even if you're not necessarily skilled with it. So what I would say is I expect someone good understanding at an overview level of the business analysis lifecycle and some of the key tools and methodologies that people use and the common kinds of acronyms. And if they don't have that, then I'm quite concerned that possibly they haven't done their preparation and they don't genuinely understand what business analysis is about.
Yeah. So another question here, maybe Penny, you can answer this one. Is business a career that people from any background can enter into?
Yeah, definitely. Interestingly enough, I was talking about this earlier, our team have such diverse backgrounds. You could have a teaching background, a call center background, a systems development background. Because our BAs are all so different, there's really not one BA, and everyone is different. They all have very different backgrounds. So yeah, come how you are.
Yep. I mean, this was Jasmin was talking about earlier about when the past entry is being an SME. And so Jasmin, I'm kind of also interested because becoming as an SME can also be a hindrance to you as a BA.
It can.
About it?
Yeah, one of the most common issues that comes up when people transition from being a subject matter expert into being a business analyst is the shift in perspective and role. As a subject matter expert, it's your role to thoroughly understand everything and to be able to answer all the questions, and you are the font of knowledge, and you can be really clear about exactly how things work. And that's how you provide value within your organisation. When we are working as a business analyst, there's a transition, and it can be quite hard because we need to let go of being the person who can provide the answers and instead become the person that facilitates the process of asking questions and analysing the answers. And that means that we aren't going to know all the answers, and we need to use a different skill set. And one of the most common issues that arises is when people find it hard to stop being the person who knows the answers to everything, or they continue to be a subject matter expert and don't consult with others, don't actually perform their business analysis activities with the people who are the current subject matter experts. One really good thing for a rule of thumb is to look at how long it has been since you have done something operationally, and then be conscious and aware and say, I am not a subject matter expert. So I say to people, I am not a subject matter expert in contact centres or workforce management. It's been way too long since I've done it. I understand the theory, but I am not a person who can answer those questions for you. And it's really important as a business analyst, knowing our limits, that we know how to transition across and start using our analysis skill set and let go of being the expert who knows the answers.
Sian, here's a question for you, maybe. I'm thinking, what's the possibility of moving from a project manager to a BA role? And the reason I'm asking you, because I know when I was looking for a BA role, I've got a project management background as well. A recruiter or talent manager actually said to me, I must pick one or the other on my CV.
I see project managers and BAs jump between one and the other fairly often, or I see smaller organizations actually take up someone who can do both of the roles. I think depending on the organization you're going for, I think it's really important that you're one or the other. You know, you're a BA or you're a PM. If you are sitting in the middle, why are you sitting in the middle? Really understand that role. Like Jasmin was saying before, it's not just about that title. It's about understanding the role and the responsibilities that you're doing.
Mm-hmm. Great. So a follow-up question that's come through, which I think maybe you can just answer as well whilst you're there. So one of the attendees is involved in service delivery manager, project manager for 7 years in IT career. He's in New Zealand now and is looking for a BA role. Should he be looking directly for a direct BA role? Is there a strategy that would work out for him, or should he be maybe moving into kind of one of those SME roles first?
I think it's important to understand why you're making that move. If you're moving into a BA role, why are you making that move? You know, if you're the subject matter expert in, say, data, and you want to be a data BA, and that's the direction you want to go in, you know, that makes sense completely. But yeah, I think it's really important to understand why you're making that move.
Yeah, and I think the other thing as well, when you're going into interview, we talked earlier about demonstration of the skills and the soft skills and the technical skills. So you're going to need to be able to demonstrate that as a BA as well. Okay. So Penny, maybe he has a question for you. I've got a person here that's worked as a BA in the healthcare and education sector, busy completing their master's degree at Victoria University in Wellington. So when applying for BA, should I focus on my experience, in other words, healthcare, or be open with different areas I've learned at Victoria University?
I kind of guess it depends on what they're applying for. Is it a project BA role in the health sector, or has it got nothing to do with the health sector? So it will really vary on what the role is. Obviously not every BA role is going to be the same. So making sure the application is targeted every time rather than flooding the market with the same resume would be really important.
Great. Sarah, let's come to you. And this is a question that, so there's a book out there called What's the Color of My Parachute? Anyone that is trying to get into the job market, I suggest you read that book. It really gives you a good understanding of the whole recruitment process and how to prepare for it. But in this book, they talk about the importance of follow-up after your interview. Just sending that email a day or two later to the person interviewing you, who's interviewed you, and just saying, thank you for seeing me, as a way of just reinforcing, here I am, don't forget me. So how important would that be to you as a I'm trying that word again, as a potential employer?
I think it's really important, Paul, and I think that one of the things that's most important about it is it not being kind of a standard thanks, it was nice to meet you, but ensure that you're actually commenting about the organisation that you've just met with and what it was that you appreciated about the interview or about the process or something, so that it's actually tailored. As Penny mentioned, it's actually tailored to who you've just met with. So I think that's really important. And also just make sure it's really timely. So, you know, do it in the sort of 24 hours or so after you've met somebody would be something I'd suggest. Yeah.
Right. Thank you for that. What are some of the BA tools that are commonly looked for in New Zealand? Sean, I think this is probably a question for you. I'm a certified Power BI user. Is that a good skill for BA roles? What are you seeing in the market?
Yeah, look, Power BI is a fantastic tool. It does depend on the organization. You know, if you're going for a large organization that's got SAP, then SAP is what they're looking for. Some great tools in the market. I mean, we go through phases, so it's always understanding what's up to date at the moment, what's the hot tool, Dynamics, CRM, AX has been really big recently as well. It really, yeah, it varies from one client to the other, to be fair.
Okay. Jasmin, back to you. Let's talk about how do we balance when we're preparing for an interview. What are some of the tips you can give someone to balance in preparing for that interview to ensure that they don't over-prepare for an interview?
I think Sian had a really good comment when she talked about the STAR technique. And I trained as a STAR interviewer, and so I always use STAR interviewing. So when you think about STAR, you think about what's the situation, what was your task, what action did you take, and what was the result. And it's a really good way of making sure that you are prepared, but not in a here's a question and here's a canned answer way, more that you are prepared in a way of saying, I've had these kinds of experiences and these are what the results have been, and now I have a selection of them I can pick from when I need to demonstrate a particular approach or skill, and I can show how I work. So I would definitely recommend using STAR, and I'd recommend practice. Find someone, maybe another BA, who will help you by giving you interview practice, because once you've been through a few interviews or had maybe a group of people who are also going through the same thing and practice interviewing each other, but preferably someone who has good interview skills, then it'll take away a lot of the fear factor, and you'll be ready when someone asks the question to go, I think this thing that I've got that we've talked through before would best demonstrate that for this audience. And it also gives you practice with talking about, I did this thing and this is what the result was. Because we don't necessarily, we've all run into candidates who overstate their involvement in a project. That doesn't come across well. Being able to clearly say what you were actually responsible for and what you did and what the results of it were will definitely help you out.
Okay. Here's a question, and maybe either Sean or Penny or both can answer. Someone's asking, a lot of companies are asking for domain knowledge like banking and insurance. What kind of strategies could be used to get into this market without having any prior experience? Now, I know Jasmin talked about getting sort of maybe a non-BA role and becoming an SME within those areas. What other tips can you give to someone in that sort of situation?
Who's going for it? I guess with banking and finance, that's really, really broad. So don't just think banking and finance means I have to have worked at ASB or ANZ. Like, you could branch out into insurance. There's a lot of insurance companies looking for BAs, and they've got really well established BA practices as well. So just thinking broader than what you might think that sector is. And I guess finding out why they need that particular sector experience. We get asked a lot by our clients that same thing. We want someone from this particular sector, and quite often they don't actually need someone that has that industry experience. BAs are so great that a good BA can work across all industries. So finding out the why they need that particular experience was probably important. Don't know, Sian, if you've got something else to add.
Yeah, no, look, I completely agree. Exactly what Penny said. I do think though, if say, for example, it's a specific project, say like a BS11, that's one specific thing that we do really look for. See how else you can get that experience. Are there some papers out there that you can do? Talk to people. You know, if you're in a consulting company as well, is there a way that you can start getting into those banking clients?
Right. I know when I entered as a BA, I started right at the bottom within the banking field, and probably banking field is or financial sector is one of the great areas to start as a BA. But getting to the business side of it, I always believe that the good BAs are those that have started in the business, have worked their way into a BA role because they've got a good understanding of the business knowledge. Jasmin, just quickly, I just wanted to come back to you because someone asked here, you mentioned a couple of times about the BA toolkit. And they're just asking, what do you mean by the BA toolkit?
When I talk about the BA toolkit, probably the simplest thing to do, and I feel like reaching out and grabbing it, is have a look at the PMBOK at the BA body of knowledge, and work your way through and just think there's a list of all the tools and techniques and ways to apply them. And so when I talk about the toolkit, the PMBOK is a detailed list, but having an understanding of what you need to do to plan analysis, to perform analysis, to elicit, to actually document analysis. What are all the kinds of tools that you need to have in your toolkit to successfully complete those business analysis activities? And you need to know what they are. You don't need to have all of them, particularly at junior level, but you do need to understand what a complete toolkit would look like. And then to be able to say, this is where my toolkit is at the moment, and this is the tools that I'm trying to add to it.
Right. There's a question here, someone's asking about salary bands. I will send out with the email a link to a study based in New Zealand on the different salary bands for BAs. I think at the moment, a bit with coronavirus, how along that might not be quite the topic. There's another question around moving from a testing role to BA role. Jasmin?
I actually find this is fantastic. It's a little bit different. Testers are really good at knowing when BA's requirements aren't as good as they could be. So the fantastic skill that testers bring is when they look at a requirement, they can look at it and say, is this a testable requirement or not? Fantastic skill to bring over. The thing that requires development is then the actual process of going out and doing the analysis in order to come up with the requirement. So I would encourage you, yes, if you're a tester who's interested in analysis, it's a great skill set to bring over. You just need to focus on what you have to do to come up with those requirements and making sure that, you know, you maintain, you can do the earlier part, which is where things are a little bit more flexible and changeable, and then apply your testing skills to make sure you've got great testable, actionable requirements at the end of the requirements process. So bring it on.
Quickly, Sarah, I just want to get another question with you quickly because we're running out of time. So I've got the job and it's the first 90 days in the office. And I mentioned this question, and I'm bringing this question up because I remember the very first book I read when I joined Redvespa was Keith's book, The First 90 Days, that was on his desk. What are you looking for from that person in those first 90 days? What are you expecting from them to bring to the organization?
First of all, I'll need to admit that I haven't read that book, Paul. I'm sure it's great though. The first 90 days for me is all about getting to know the people in the organisation. Unless you know the organisation, the culture, the people, it's really hard to do the influencing and have the empathy and, you know, do the negotiating and things that you'll eventually need to do. So yeah, that would be where I would concentrate initially, understanding the structure of the organisation, who are the people that are going to be the people that you're going to need to work with, who are perhaps the ones who are the key influencers in the organisation. So just kind of get into your mind the structure, and then just do a bit of planning.
Yeah.
Just plan, what's going to be your approach.
Yeah. Just two questions that I would quickly address.
Sorry, can I add something quick to that?
Sure.
I love all that. There is one other thing I say often to candidates who are going into, say, banking or telco or something completely different to what they've done before. Use those 90 days to find out all the acronyms. You get to sit there and go, I have no idea what that is. I've never worked in telco or I've never worked in banking. Keep a little book or, you know, keep a reference or something, but try and find out all those really kind of, you know, what's FMA, what's this, what's that, because yeah, it'll help you in the long term.
I think just to add that, connect with people. Just connect and talk to people around the coffee machine or the water cooler or whatever. Really start to engage people. There's quickly two questions I want to ask. What study or courses would the panel recommend? Equinox has training. You can contact them as well. And there are a couple of, if you go look on the IIBA New Zealand website, we do have links to various organizations within New Zealand that do offer training. So go have a look at there. And then someone's asking, they've got years experience and they don't see themselves as senior, but as junior. Junior senior's got nothing to do with years of experience. It's got junior and senior's got more to do with the level of your expertise, your technical expertise. A senior BA typically is going to be someone that's more involved in strategy and more decision-making than a junior BA. Jasmin, would you agree with that?
I would, to a certain extent. I'd say to be a senior, you need a certain amount of experience. Some people don't, and some seniors won't get involved in strategic change. Some seniors will spend all their time working on operational or tactical change, and that's what they enjoy doing. It tends to be, as a senior, you understand the analysis life cycle and you have the ability to plan and manage. I think as a junior, your skills tend to be in execution, and you are, as you become more senior, you develop both the depth of your skills, the breadth of your toolkit, and your ability to plan and manage analysis activities and to engage effectively with a broader range of stakeholders.
Great stuff. And I'm going to end the last question off with Sarah, and I know what the answer is going to be on this one. But Sarah, what, from an employer perspective, experience or BA certifications, which one do I choose?
I would choose experience.
Yeah. Thank you. Short and sweet. Anyway, look.
Great. And experience you learn a lot from.
Yeah. Look, as someone who's just done this certification, I certainly have, I mean, even with 25 years experience, certification has certainly changed my mindset on quite a few aspects of business analysis, things that I hadn't really thought of. So there is something to be said for certifications, but I think from the perspective of experience versus BA certification, definitely experience is a lot.
Or both.
Or both. You can see who are the certified people here. Anyway, I'm going to bring the webinar to a close. I just want to thank the panel for joining. It's been fun. And for your expertise. I want to thank everyone that has attended. I will send out a recording of this and the slide deck of this in the next couple of days. So thank you everyone for joining, and have a rest of your day, maybe a good one.
Thanks, Paul.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot. Bye.